Coming from Politico, Trump endorsed Byron Donalds makes run for Florida governor official. Donalds, who has been a close ally to President Donald Trump, would be the first black governor of Florida and replace term-limited Governor Ron DeSantis. He's been an ally. He has been a loyal ally. Close, I don't know. That's black, yeah. Very coontastic. Representative Byron Donalds is officially running to become governor of Florida, following President Donald Trump's endorsement in a state that has become a conservative bastion of the MAGA movement. Y'all continue to write on the walls and still be illiterate to the writing on the wall. You didn't just ignored. Okay. After a lot of prayer, a lot of thoughts with my family and friends, I'm here to announce my candidacy to be the next governor of the great state of Florida, Donald said Tuesday night to Fox News' Sean Hannity. It didn't have nothing to do with prayer. Didn't have nothing to do with conversations. You were already out on the campaign trail. You were just waiting for that stamp of approval from Trump because you think that that is your golden ticket, Willy Wonka. Donald, whose congressional district includes Naples and Fort Myers, received Trump's endorsement in a February 20th Truth Social post. Trump often teased Donald about the race during his 2024 presidential run, including in front of top donors, and considered him as a possible running mate. But Donalds is facing the prospect of running against Florida First Lady Casey DeSantis, who's been heavily involved in her husband's political rise, and someone Governor Ron DeSantis has said he sees as the best person to carry on his conservative policy legacy. Casey DeSantis hasn't made a run official, but she and her husband have been calling donors about the possibility. Donald sidestepped a question about Casey DeSantis during his Fox News interview, noting he was the only candidate in the race, and praised Ron DeSantis as a great governor who had done a tremendous job. He added it was time to focus on the future. Now the job is to keep the best state in the country as the best state in the country, he said, and so that's going to be the mission at hand. Oh, so he's borrowing from the Trump playbook. Get out there as soon as possible, and hopefully people don't get sick of you by the time ballots are cast. He highlighted the state's high property insurance costs as a focus and said he wanted to make Florida the most business-friendly state in the country and to take the lead on cryptocurrency and digital assets. Cryptocurrency in the retirement hub of the United States. Donald, 46, is a three-term member who was also in the House Freedom Caucus, the conservative group which counts DeSantis as a founding member. He was a regular surrogate during Trump's presidential campaign and held events in battleground states to reach out to black voters. The former state legislator helped lead the expansion of the state's school voucher program. He and his wife, Erica Donalds, have long been advocates of policies that make it easier for families to choose education options outside of public schools. People within a certain tax bracket already have options. And Donalds hasn't accomplished anything. But education policy also calls Donalds falling out with DeSantis. Donalds, who is black, I know some of y'all forget that, said in 2023 that African American history standards for middle schoolers that were in the works in Florida needed to be adjusted. The language he and others were concerned about said enslaved people developed skills which, in some instances, could be applied for their personal benefit. Byron, you're sounding real coontastic Candace right now. You cannot bootleg and taint snip and glizzy guzzle for white supremacists and then get mad when white supremacists white supremacy. You laid with the fleas. Get comfortable with them. The governor doubled down and recently said he doesn't see Donald as having contributed to Florida's rightward shift or conservative policy victories. He also suggested Donald should be focused on his work in Congress rather than running for governor. I mean, he's not wrong. Like, everybody that's red on Capitol Hill is power grab is real. Donald seemed to address some of those criticisms during his Fox News interview, saying he was not going anywhere. The congressman does not have to resign from his current role to run for governor, but he's not good at being a congressperson when his focus isn't split. For a long time, I've been in the trenches in a lot of these battles dealing with conservatism, he said, pointing to a bill signed into law under then Governor Rick Scott, now a U.S. Senator, that allows parents to review materials in school. We're going to continue to be the free state and the best state going forward, he said. But who said? You know what? That is the United States way. Just call yourself something, and everybody's just supposed to believe it. Once again, just because you name it, Darren, don't mean that. Nikki Fried, the chair of the Florida Democratic Party, blasted Donald just minutes after his television appearance. She called him a dangerous political opportunist who should be nowhere near the governor's mansion and criticized him for skipping votes and defending insurrectionists, a reference to his apparent use of proxy voting and the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. She also called him unqualified and said he lacked any executive experience needed for the job. All correct. And how much do you want to bet he is going to use the race card and further damage the black community, all for him to have a power grab? And I don't know why he thinks Florida is the... You black conservatives over with the GOP, y'all keep thinking that, okay, that DeSantis himself once relied on Donald when first seeking the governor's mansion, including help with debate prep. Excuse me. The 2024 presidential race, in which Donald endorsed Trump, shrunk DeSantis' inner circle. Now the governor is mostly talking about his wife as a possible successor. The prospect of a Donald versus DeSantis primary could trigger a bitter contest. Online supporters of Governor DeSantis have repeatedly circulated information on Donald's past, including arrests when he was younger. That don't seem to bother folks at all nowadays. He was arrested for marijuana possession in 1997, though the charges were dropped, and previous media reports point to a 2000 charge for bribery in which the court records were sealed. During a 2014 interview with a Southwest Florida television station, Donald said the second arrest was for theft stemming from a woman he gave his bank card to after she promised to pay him. If 1 + 1 is 2 and 2 + 2 is 4, and you divide it by what the fuck, and you carry the and you multiply by what the fuck you talking about? What the fuck is this? The Trump endorsement, considered a coveted prize in GOP politics for some, not for others. Because there's some that keep getting the endorsement and have literally glizzy guzzled for Trump and still can't win. You can't win, child. Could freeze out any other entrants in a state whose battleground status has been wiped away. Trump won Florida by 13 points in November and often spends time at his properties in the state. DeSantis, too, has been popular in the state. They both called home and won his re-election by 19 points in 2022. But there are people who will vote for Trump and vote for nobody else. There are people who, it does not matter who Trump endorses, they don't care. And Donald is black. DeSantis has predicted that if his wife were to run, she would eclipse his record. But polling from 2018 showed that Trump's primary endorsement of DeSantis was instrumental in lifting him from little-known member of Congress to GOP frontrunner because he's awkward and he's weird. Donald is originally from Brooklyn and often talks about the sacrifices his mother made to send him to private school and how that spurred his personal success. Erica Donalds is a visiting fellow with the Center for Education Policy at the Conservative Heritage Foundation. That's why Donalds believes that he can win on top of a Trump endorsement. But newsflash, Donald, the Heritage Foundation isn't in control of Donnie Boy. He's not. Maybe a Musk endorsement would help you, but you're still black. Maybe you should have a sit down with Clarence Thomas so he can tell you how that works. Donald's hired several top campaign operatives with ties to Trump, including pollster Tony Fabrizio and Ryan Smith, who was a business partner with Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair. He also hired fundraiser Megan McKinley, who used to work for Secretary of State Marco Rubio in the Senate. You can get all the people you want and toss as much Trump as you want on you. You're still black. Donalds was first elected to the Florida legislature in 2016 before running in a heavily contested and negative GOP primary for Congress 4 years later. During his time in Congress, he has become a staunch defender of Trump and was even floated at one point as a potential candidate for House Speaker amid the GOP schism over former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Let's stop fucking lying. They used him when they were trying to leverage McCarthy. And by they, I mean Gates and his aides. Donald was next. See, that's what gave Donald a false sense of confidence and hope. They never saw him like them. They never had confidence in him at all. If that were the case, he would have been on the short list for anything up till now. Let me remind y'all, he's still black.